Absolutely, I'd be happy to. Infoblox, we actually just celebrated our 25th anniversary just this past week. And Infoblox was founded by a gentleman who had a very deep understanding of the challenges that they set out to solve with Infoblox, and that was solving the complexity of all things associated with DNS, DHCP, and IP address management in large and complex networks. And as a result, they built the solution for DDI, coined the actual term DDI, and created that segment. And our very first customers were some of the largest and most demanding IT consumers in the world as a result, because they inherently felt the need for and felt the benefit of addressing their pain within the network through Infoblox technology. We have evolved since those times, continue to serve 93 of the Fortune 100, 13,000 plus customers all over the globe, spanning every vertical segment of the industry, and still solving not just the making complex network challenges simple, but doing it in a secure and trusted way, leveraging the power of DNS and integrating into the larger security stack that fuels our customers' security postures.
That's a really good question, and that is a question that a lot of customers don't think there is a difference. And there's actually 3 different kinds of DNS. There's platform DNS, which a lot of customers use with, say, Google, Akamai, Cloudflare, Fastly, and that is effectively when they have a URL and they CNAME that URL to their platform, so all requests go there. The second kind is recursive, where you subscribe to a carrier-based DNS platform and then all requests go to them and they just forward it on to what you're trying to do. And then the last kind is authoritative DNS, and that's a bit what Infoblox does, which is effectively we rate your request before it goes out, and then we just determine based on your need and what you're trying to do we send it out? So we will not just forward anything out. For example, if something belongs in AWS or Azure, unless we know it's a trusted device, we will not send your request. Similar with the URL, similar with anything DNS related. So there's really 3 different kinds, and customers always think there's only one kind, that all DNS is the same, and it's not.
Sure, absolutely. Well, so if we think about how our customers consume our technology, but more importantly, how they deploy their assets today, their applications. We have served customers from the time of truly on-prem and distributed data center topologies, but now we look at more than 87% of the customers that Infoblox serve have workloads in all 3 of the large hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, and GCP. And so from a multi-cloud perspective, what that creates, unfortunately, is additional complexity. It's the need now for our customers, if they were to leverage native tools, to have to learn how to manage a DNS, DHCP, and IP address managed environment, and have to determine how best to secure that uniquely for each one of those environments. Many of our customers would tell you that they don't have the time or the resources to be able to keep up with those technology changes. And so Infoblox smooths all of that by providing one ubiquitous platform that can manage DNS across a multi-cloud environment, AWS, Azure, and as well GCP, and can do that in the same way that they manage on-prem. And so now the skill set required leverages the transparency, the automation, right, to snap into the customer's existing workflows for managing these critical tier 0 network services and more importantly, can leverage the fact that Infoblox can snap in from a security perspective using the power of DNS, can snap into their existing security frameworks, whether that's the C10, the MITRE, or an XDR framework, can snap in and strengthen that security posture through the tight integration that we have. That's one of the ways that we can make a multi-cloud journey for our customers as smooth and seamless as possible.
Yes, if I think about the examples that Chris just gave, using a security framework, there's no customer that really purchases everything and just expects it all to work together, as he said, snap in together. So the question is, based on what you've purchased, which includes a next-gen firewall from any of the good vendors, a vulnerability platform, a SIEM, a NAC, how do you leverage all those technologies in a cohesive manner to make better decisions? Let me give an example. If you bought a next-gen firewall, that means you've already invested in the architecture of deny lists, malware lists, approve lists, isolate lists. But what happens if the DNS is providing, to the first question, a public reflection? That DNS entry goes somewhere else. It doesn't go to something like an Infoblox, which is an authoritative platform. And then we decide, how do you sync it with the next-gen firewall? How does the IPAM translate all that information proactively to a next-gen firewall? Customers are driven by control, compliance, and automation, not manual administration. So how does Infoblox and the next-gen firewall address the security need and update proactively to make sure that nothing is leaving that network that should? Same thing with, as Chris rightfully reflected, the C10 network. Any customer that invests in a vulnerability platform has a big challenge with asset discovery. If you integrate the IPAM with a vulnerability platform, you are proactively sharing all your assets on demand with that platform, and it meets a certain standard. And if that standard is now scanning those devices, you now know what your active threats are proactively. So the way we approach the ecosystem and unique use cases, which are different for every customer, is what have you bought? What are you trying to do? Then how do we bring your risk level down? Knowing that IPAM is critical for information and DNS is strategic for leveraging that threat intel within your security ecosystem.
If we think about it, as Danny mentioned, the way our customers consume the security technologies to support their security posture, to ultimately on an annual basis reduce their risk score, they're doing that in context within, and I'll use for example, within the XDR framework. It might be a next-gen firewall, it might be vulnerability management, it might be the way things plug into the SIEM or the SOAR. One of the things that's characteristic in those is that those technologies quite typically don't communicate to each other, but there is a continuity that spans across the entire XDR framework, and that's DNS. And so DNS, if we think about, it's a 40-year-old protocol. So this is not a technology on one hand that's new, and it was really essentially the address book for the internet at its origin. But what it's become, particularly to the bad actors targeting our collective customers, it has become a security target. Become a security target because it represents essentially a backdoor into the organization. A backdoor that allows a bad actor to come in, to deploy a form of malware, and to be able to get in and get out relatively undetected, despite all of that security investment that our customers have made. And by the time the security apparatus catches on to it, we could be talking days, weeks, or longer. And in a security scenario, time is absolutely of the essence. And so Infoblox now looks at DNS and changes the conversation from security target to security tool. How can we leverage DNS to be the security tool that snaps in and complements and strengthens the rest of the components in that XDR framework? How can we do that to ensure every single year our customers' risk score is coming down, that they are more compliant to their stakeholders? And equally as important, when it comes to detecting threats, Now, with Infoblox, they can detect the threats that others miss. We unite that networking and security dynamic, and that unlocks massive value to our customers. So when we think of Techjockey and all the value that Techjockey brings to its customers, both its existing customers and new customers looking for the best partner in the business to be able to deliver value, curate the conversation to find the right technology to fit their need in the right moment. This is an opportunity for Infoblox. As I shared, we can take an existing security framework and make it better. We can take and leverage our technology to help our customers not only provide massive resiliency to a tier 0 service, which is DNS, DHCP, IP address management, so a classic network service, but marry that with the power of strong DNS security that integrates into the stack and pulls from the industry's only DNS threat hunting team to inform our DNS threat feeds. That power in combination with Techjockey, because Techjockey of course brings these other solutions in the XDR framework to life for their customers. When we work in concert together, it's a very powerful story, and we can ensure that our shared customers have the best outcome and are more secure after they engage with us than before us.